Good morning. What we're going to be working on today is the monitor. So what we're going to be adding to the app is we need to add a global so that you can see all another component to the website so that you can see all alerts from all different of the client applications that you have registered to the app. So let's start up the back end as well as the Angular front end here. That didn't make sense. Oh, I know what's going on here. Just a second here. Let me correct this. All right, off we go. Let's try that again. It's good to have you guys back with us. It's been a bit. How's the audio sounding today? So we got the TCP server up and running. This is our web API for the project. We don't necessarily need this. So let's first on our title page here add in a collapsible menu for SDKs so that we can so that way we can include also our web API. Maybe we should just have that as another link at the top. Or these could all be collapsed into one. So let me just look up real quick here. Same, audio sounds good on my end. All right, awesome. So this is used mostly with Bootstrap. And you can see it's got a little effects here because we're using Particles.js. So let's take a look here on the front end, which is under landing pages. And we want to look at the view for the shared layout. Okay, and when I look at this, we want to see the nav bar here, which is the FlexGrow one. And then we have these things set up here as individual items. So if I wanted to have a drop down, second. There, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Found a code pen here to affect it. I like the galaxy dot effect thing. Thanks. That was made with Particles.js. And in this, where is it? Perfect. So we're just going to copy this little bit in here. And so what this is it's giving me a link with no target. We're using this class called dropdown toggle. And here I'm going to call this a developers. Where's the caret? And here's the caret, which is fine. So we want this to be like that, and then this. And now I want to have an unordered list with the type of, there, that's right. And then we're going to have a list item here. And then we're just going to come back out from all of this. Now this needs to be in a list item. And I think that'll do it. And then we can bring this stuff out. And then format it. Okay, so when we reload this, come on. There we go. So now we've got developers up here and a really bad looking drop down. So this is not great. This is not what I'm looking for. So let's do this a different way. We're going to create a new project in Visual Studio. And in this, I'm going to make it a web application. And I'll just dump this on my desktop. And I'll make it a MVC app with HTTPS and identity, and we'll create it. And now in here, when I look at the layout, we're going to select this one here. This is a collapsible one. So this is your, let's give this a run. It might fail because it probably wants a database. That's fine. So they don't have a collapsible in this anymore. So let's close this. Just another second here. Well, let's go ahead and continue on because I'm not happy with the way that this is coming out. So we're going to get rid of this nav item. And then this one's going to be a nav link. Same thing here. Okay, still in the bad spot here though. So let's take one more look at this before we move on. This is the navbar collapse, our login partial. Hey there, Kessel's Game Studio. How are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. Let's scrap this. Okay, and then we're going to do this way. And this time I'm just going to have a drop down. And then inside of this, we're going to have a new link with no target, where my class is a drop down toggle, and my data toggle is a drop down. And then I also want to have a caret here. And we're going to call this developers. Let's see what that looks like. Still a little high. So this one, we want to say that this is a nav link and a text light. That's looking much better. And now let's add the drop-down, which is another list item. And I'm going to call this a drop-down menu. And in this, we're going to have my two list items here. One for the SDKs. One for the NuGet packages. And one for the documentation. Okay, let's take a look. I've made a game called There Is No Turning Back. Here, check this out. Good, that looks much better. Now we can change this to get rid of our text light. And maybe we should change the background of that. Let's just see what this looks like if I get rid of text light first. We like text light. So let's go ahead and now modify the CSS of the site. And we're going to pull up here that drop-down panel. Come on. And we need to take it off mobile mode. And when we inspect this element, hey, Kessel's Game Studio, thank you so much for that follow. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. We've also got a Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Make sure you check that out. Looks good. So I'm not into the color for that. So let's go and look at this thing. And this is this one, drop-down menu show. So if I was to undock this so we can actually see what's going on here. And when I look at the color, it's being set right here. Drop-down menu. So we're going to override drop-down menu. So in my CSS, I'm going to add in here a drop-down menu. And in this, I want to set my background color. And I probably should have made a mix-in for this, but I did not. And if I look at this, 696997, what's the class on this one? This text center, this doesn't tell me where that background is coming from. So it's being absorbed. Where's the class on it? Well, let's go back in here and just see. I might have an in here again. Particles.js. Particles.js. Background color. So this one we're calling text center. So let's make a new one in here, and we're going to say it's called background opaque. Let's say it's my background dark panel. Okay. I should probably do this with mix-ins, but I'm okay. And here we're going to move this background color up and the border up. The padding looks fine. The position's fine. The color's fine. So now I'm going to add this onto my index page. There. And also on my layout page. Hold on. We want this to be on the drop-down menu itself. Here. And we reload it. Okay, the images are coming off my S3 server with AWS. And there, that looks much better. Okay, the other thing we need to do is let's change this so the index page starts with this. And now finally, because I haven't done this yet, Monitaur, M-O-N, see it's spelled wrong on the title page. That's great. M-O-N-I-T-A-U-R. Privacy controls look good. Terms of service looks good. This is my main site. And so now what we want to do is look at this as if it was on mobile. And I prefer to do this on a iPhone 10. And we need to reload the page. So if it's horizontal, it kind of looks okay. It could use a little bit of help. And if it's vertical, it could use a good amount of help. I'm not sure what's going on over here. It looks like this at the bottom of the page is what's extending it out. So we'll have to fix that. We'll fix that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and check my privacy controls. Those look good. My terms of service, those look good. And then we can go to login. Now it's telling me that I never started my site. Okay, we're good to go. Let's try it again. And when we look at this, this looks fine on mobile. This way does not. So this is on the identity server. We'll fix that a little bit later as well. Let's do a login, I guess with this one. Okay, and here it's going to show me which projects I currently have. Now, we got some issues in here. One is, for example, if you don't click, well, first, the formatting in this needs some help. This table is definitely too large. This is not going to work well on mobile at the moment. So let's go back to looking at this like it was on desktop. And we'll get the desktop version dialed in, and then let's focus on the mobile after. So one issue right now is that if I get events that come into the projects, it doesn't reload the pages. Angular is assuming that that app is that it doesn't need to reload the data. But many times, for example, when I'm down here and I'm selecting a project, so let's demonstrate. So project 1, and we're going to give it a client application name of client 1, and then also we can give it a client 2. Okay. So now, one thing that's wrong here is this number client of applications. So let's fix that. In the projects view model here, okay, so the projects view model is going to be in the public project, which is over here. I guess I don't have it there. I guess I have it in the internal one. So we want to look for project, DTO, and we have number of client applications. We're going to scrap this right off the top. And so now when I look at my view model here, or I'm sorry, my Angular app, and I want to look at my shared feature here for, well, this is actually features called projects. And here's the HTML for it. Here's the TypeScript for it. And our model is second. Here. Looks like because I'm using Redux, I have it in here. My projects, my client applications, and my alerts. So this number of client applications, we need to populate this. So I don't want to reduce a number there. Let's look for this in the app. This is where we're displaying it. Okay. So when we calculate it, what I want to do is in my reducer, when I receive a project here, you have a set projects. If I look at my models, let's see, can I have a function in a TypeScript interface? No. So then I need to set this just a second. I want to have a include function TypeScript and interface. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a simple function in here in my projects. Right here, and I'm going to call this a calculate number projects. And with this one, I want to return here an integer, or just a number, right? And so when I do this, I'm going to pass in a project ID, which is a int, a number. And now what I want to do is I want to get this from my store. So this is subscribing the projects here to the store. I want to do this again for the client applications. And before I forget, we'll come down here to the destroy and unregister it. Okay. And so this one, I want to get my client applications, which are called where do I pull it? Just a second. I think it's called client applications. Just a second. Let me look for this in another implementation. Yeah, right here. And this time, I'm going to have a client applications, which is a iClient application. Like that. And down here now, I can say this.client applications, and we want to filter where the project ID is equal to my project ID. And we're going to call this my length, and we just want to return it. So back over here in the HTML, I want to do a calculate, just a second. I want to do a calculate number of projects of my element.id. Which means that on my projects view model, I can get rid of my number client applications. Let's try it again. Okay, I've got just a couple of errors I need to resolve on the back end. We don't need this. We don't need this. And we don't need this. And these were from all of my read project statements in my service data access layer in the back end. Okay. So now we're going to do a login. And what I want to look for is when I click on my projects, now it says I have 2 client applications. So everything is working great. We need to do the same exact thing here for number of alerts. So in here, this is in client applications. And I want to have a new alerts subscription, which has a new list of alerts. Which is here. This is coming off of my model at the top, my app state, so alerts. And on this one, you want to get all of them. And you're going to do the filtering per line item. Okay, we also need to do the unsubscribe. And now down here, I want to have a new function here called calculate number of alerts, and we want to pass in the client application ID, which is an int, which is a number in JS or in TypeScript, and we want to return a number. And what I want to return is this dot alerts dot, and I want to get my over here. Before I forget, on the landing page, I need to add in one here for WebAPI. Okay. Back over on the front end, we want to have a filter. The ID, my client application ID, is equal to client application ID dot length. And then on my client application, I can scrap the number of alerts, which is not even here. So back in the client applications page, number of alerts, you're currently saying is coming off of your model, but it's not there. So we want to do this off of the calculate number alerts of my element.id. Let's go ahead and take a look at this now. So let's look at my project here, and I'm going to select one of these. Now, this is what I was talking about, the reload. See how client 1 is selected? If I try to load client 2, it doesn't reload the page. So we need to fix that. And yes, it is changing the URI at the top. So we need to fix that. And I know that I know one way we can do it. But we're just going to look to see if this is behaving the way that we're expecting. So we're going to grab our OAuth token here and jump over to the Web API and dump it in. And now I'm going to create an alert and post it. And there it is. It's been registered to the app. And there it is. So everything is working fine. We still have some formatting things we need to do here as well as here. I guess I want to have this select visible projects again, but I really want to make sure I have an aggregate where I can look at all of these at one time. It should remember that preference. It does. And so up here, I probably want to add another tab for aggregate, right? Let me think about that for a second. So we're going to make a new component in here. Generate component. And I'm going to call this a features So you currently have this set up that you have a projects here, which incorporates all of these other different features, including client applications, projects, and services. This is alerts, though. That doesn't really align with this. So let's make a new module. And I'm going to call this a features, projects, features, alerts. And just so I copy the same thing here, I want to import my shared module and export my routing module. So let's go ahead and delete this and do it one more time and add in here a routing. And I want to add on here my shared module. And then I want to do a exports here of my alerts routing module. Looks right. And now in my routing module, I need to include these routes. Before I do this, I want to look at my for child routes. And when we go to alerts, I want to go to my new component, which I haven't added yet. So just that. Okay. And I need to make sure I add this into my feature module. So let's go to my, you need to have in this alerts component a index.ts, which is a export of each component in the module. Like that. Just making sure. It's been a little while since I've done this. Yeah, and now each component. So we need to have my new component here, which is a generate component in my features, alerts, and we're going to say that this is my alerts dashboard. So in here, this is going to be alerts dashboard. Component. And there it is in the import. And then we want to export everything from my alerts dashboard component. So in my features routing module, I want to lazy load here alerts. And we want to do my alerts module. Like that. And this is bringing in my features routing module. And here we want to export everything from my alerts index. And nothing's being loaded because everything's being lazy loaded here. So finally, down here on my app component, I want to add a new link here, which is going to take me to alerts dash nothing. So what's happening here? It's navigating me to something called an alerts component, I think. Alerts dashboard. You already have an alerts dashboard. Derp. So we're going to just call this alerts. My bad. A little bit here to clean this up. Like that. like that. Like that. Looks right. Alerts worked. Perfect. So let's go ahead and make one large aggregate table here. So we can kind of copy what I have here for dashboard already. So if I look here under my project dashboard, the first thing I have is this list item here of my client application dashboard. And this says my client name and then my alerts dashboard, which has a bunch of stuff on it that we're going to bring in. So the first thing I want to have is a MAC card. No, we're just going to use just as it is. If I look at my projects, which is being pulled from my app component here, field set container, what is making it have the padding? Field set container, padding on the left of 20. So I'm going to add in here a div with a class equals my field set container. And we'll just bump this right across here, like that. And we can add in this whole filter block, which I really want to put into another component inside a shared. I can do that later. I think there was a reason I didn't do that. We'd have to look. Okay. And then this is the grid here. So it's almost this exact same alerts dashboard page. So when I look at this again, search criteria, it's this whole form. And then, if it doesn't have the criteria, then we have the page size set here with an AG grid. And that's it. So now on my CSS, we're going to add in this same stuff. And then on the TypeScript, let's just dump this whole thing in. Looks good. So you're getting your grid. I have to look and see what's being implemented on this on init and on destroy. And then here, there's no input anymore. Yeah, see, I think I could put all this in a component. You're passing in the store, status alerts message timestamp. And then you're queried here. Now this is coming from HTTP. Because it's querying the database here. So this is fine. And then you have filter alerts. That's fine. We have these 2 subscriptions. That's fine. Actions is in core. So I didn't think that would work. I thought that was superfluous. So back down here, actions. How many times does this go back? Oh, well, you're in a different thing. So it's alerts, alerts, features, and then core. So like that. And then you say that the maximum number to retrieve is 5,000. I think I want to make that 50,000. And we can do that same thing. We'll do it in a second. And now here, in my request alerts, we're going to do this a second time as an overload with no client application. And now when I look at my back end, when I look at my web API under my alerts controller, I have a get alerts and a get alerts app. And the difference is the app includes the client ID. Okay, so here, where I'm reading the alerts, what is all this shit? Oh, my tests. Let me change this value. I don't want to show this on screen. Okay. And so if I was to duplicate this one again, I can get this for that. And so now I can say if my just a second. If my client application ID is greater than 0, then you want to do this. Otherwise, you want to do this. So you can do this as a var alerts is equal to client application ID is greater than 0. Then you want to set it to my this. Otherwise, I want to set it to this one. And then we're going to map it across. Okay, this is telling me now that I don't have my read alerts in here implemented. So this one. Like that. This is returning null. You're making the query here, and then mapping everything to the alert DTO and returning it. Where my active flag is true, like that. And we'll rebuild it and test it out. So back over on this side, we're just going to set this equal to 0. I think I can even just exclude it completely. And so now in my alerts component, you're going to do this one. And that should be it. Let's give it a run. Okay, here's our API. Let's go in and take a look at an app. I want to grab my OAuth token here. And we're just going to create a whole bunch of image notifications here. $19. And now we'll make another client application here. And post these up. 26 of those. When I click on alerts, looks like I've got a problem because I'm not using AG Grid anywhere except for in my shared component. Which is not loaded AG Grid with components. Can I export this? Let's just see. Yes, it looks like that once I exported it, it's working correctly. So it is here. It's showing all 45 of them already. So it looks good. We still have all these other pages, but now I can see everything for all the different apps. This table needs to be different. So if I look at my features alerts, and I look at my AG Grid, I'm including a status type, alert type. Let's start with a different one. Call it client application. And then one more before that, with the project. Down here, I'm going to add in my columns, which is a project and a client application. Here we're submitting the filter and querying. This is exporting it, and we want to do a project ID and a client application ID. Okay, they're not populating yet. Where am I binding this? Alerts queried. Which means that my project is going to be a name. Where did they go? Models. Project name and client name. And when I look at my alerts, I don't have that whole thing. I only have their ID. So in this one, we need to have a get client application of a ID, which is a number. And then I also want to have a get project, which is going to be a project ID, which is a number. So then up here, I'm going to call this project name and client application name. At the top, I need to have this with two new subscriptions here. One for client application subscription. and one for projects subscription. A little confused here. We'll figure this out in a second. Right here, we're going to add my two queries. So this is client application subscription, client applications, client application, client application. Looks like I forgot to add up here my client applications and my projects. And this one is projects. Like that. And then here we want to do this .client applications unsubscribe, and we want to do the same thing for the projects. And here you're going to do a return this .client applications .filter my x where my client ID is equal to my client application ID. And you want to get the first one. And you're going to do the same thing here with the projects. So now what we need to do is we need to take a look at AG grid documentation. I want to say AG grid calculated column. What? Let me look at this code pen. value getter is what it wants. And this is inside of the column definitions. So in this one, I want to say value, oops, let's do the other one first, value getter is a get client application of my client application.id. Something didn't work there. Processing of the expression failed because my data just is client application 3. Get client application is not defined. Same issue. Let's look at this full screen so I can actually see what it's doing. This is A plus B over here. So can I do it like a function here? Let's try that. Same issue. Well, let me see if I could ever get this as a just a 1. See if this even works. Not read get client application of undefined. Is that because I pulled this little bit out here? No. Let's go back over to the docs. Value getter is a function that's called to allow values to be pulled from anywhere. Column.valueGetter. Yeah, this looks right. So let's just start by doing this as a that. Well, it didn't return anything. How about that? There we go, that one did. So now we can do a console.log of my this.client applications. Says my client applications is undefined. Here it is, there's nothing in it. It is defined. Why is that not retrieving my client applications? There it is. Hey there, Mekirin. I put these videos up at YouTube, so right now we're not doing so many of the song requests. Hey, well, it's saying it's getting them. But not from here, I don't think. try that. Oh, because this is returning a client application, and I don't want that whole thing. I just want the name. I mean, they're definitely loaded. Well, let's kill this. Try it again. Same issue. No definition found for get client application. What's this shit doing down here? Create row data. This one's not great. This is called a get value getter. So let me go to here. And this one we want to get my application to string. says it still can't find my function. So I wonder if I can just skip the function and do a client applications of 0 and get the client name. So in this case, params.data.client application ID should work fine. That does. I don't see them ever referencing another function. Where is it doing the create row data? Oh, that's just made up. Okay. AG grid, and we want to do set value to function. Not that one. Not that one. See, none of these. See, I don't ever see them using a function. And why wouldn't it be showing? That's what's weird. So let's do AG grid column definitions from function. Why can't I find this? It's so stupid. Why can't I figure this out? Maybe we want it from value formatter. Man. Column definitions need to be with a function. I'm going to take a break in just a minute if we can't get this. Function example. Can I get things that I've injected in here? Because I feel like I'm going to change what's mapped across, and I'm just going to include this from the data. Because this is not being very nice to me right now, that I can't get it to call this function. Try that. No, same issue. So it's anything. So we want to say value getter AG grid cannot find. I'm about ready to do it a different way. Let's just see what they've put in the JS here. That's just the data. This is their column definitions. No, I don't see any of that shit. Okay, we're going to do it a different way then. I'm tired from this. So let's go back into our back end. And when I look at my I really just want to do it right here. I don't want to have to change my object. So is this happening because I need to do it in my init? Let's try that. Did I close the window? Damn. Because it hasn't been a init yet? It could be that. No, didn't care. Okay, let's see if I can do this shorthand. Because I think I might have to do this. I don't want to do that from the query side. That's going to be really heavy. Client application is not defined. All right, so that worked. So can I do this as a this dot get client application of that? Oh my God, I think it worked. So by not dropping into the next function, it's now letting me have a reference to it. So here, we're going to say that we're going to return this filtered and I want to do this as a toString. Okay, this time it said that it's undefined. Oh, instead I want to get my client name. All right, so now it's never subscribing my client applications. So it's never subscribing them for some reason. That doesn't make any sense. We almost have it now. Says there's none in there. So why isn't the store broadcasting? Why wouldn't this be working? I mean, I see them being loaded into the store. Right here. Is it because it's lazy loaded? So let's look at the NGRX store lazy loaded module. Feature level reducers. I don't have any feature level reducers. Store module. Still not working. Oh. Then any feature that is yet to be loaded will be dropped from the state as actions are dispatched. Wait, what is this saying? So if I look here at my store for root, store module for feature, we don't have any reducers in here. So NGRX store lazy loaded module Angular CLI example. Store module for root of all of my reducers. Here they're subscribing it. user info service, get your user info. When that happens, then you're dispatching the new event. And then here you're subscribing to it. Action reducer map. I'm just looking for what we do when it's lazy loaded. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. In my app module, I'm passing any reducers here that I want. These reducers are up here. Claims reducer, projects, client applications, for feature. And that's bringing in my alerts reducer. So does that mean in my features module, I can import a reducers module, and maybe that'll fix it. I did see it loading it at one time, though. It's never firing this received client applications. Is the projects one working? Is it just this one? just get past this error. Okay, so it does get my projects. All right, that works. If my this.clientApplications.length is greater than 0, then we'll return this. Otherwise, I just want to return my client ID. Okay, so my thought is if I move these to the constructor, it might work. Now only alerts is being retrieved. Well, that's why that was failing with the function as well, because it's not loaded yet. So can I just do this? Hey there, John Stryker. How are you doing? It's been a bit. How are you today? All right. Well, there they are. Your project ID is 2. Your ID is 2 and 3. Like that. Okay, and what was passed across was data.clientApplicationID. So let's go back to here and do this as a function. And do a return on my params.data.clientApplicationID. Okay, we're back to this again. Where it can't find client application. Okay, not quite, but almost. So we could do we could do a const here of my client applications. Okay, so let's put this inside of a function here. And just return this one. And let's go get rid of all of these alerts that I have in here. Just about ready to do this in the back end. Client application is now returning false. Now this is an array of bools because this needs to be a toString. And this one needs to be a toString. I don't know what's going on with this. Oh, we want to do a filter. Sorry about that. Looks good. There we go. Jeez Louise. Okay, that was fun. So we want to do this for both projects and client applications, right? So what I can do is I can say this dot column definitions of my first type dot value getter is equal to this. Not quite. Hold on. So we're going to make a new function in here called draw table. And in this, we're going to set this thing here. And in this, we're going to pass in here a list of projects and a list of client applications. Hey there, Kukzedukski. You sound like Gaben Newell. I don't know who that is. Like that. And now for this one's value getter, I want to return, this is going to be my client application ID. And then I want to return projects.filter where my ID is equal to my client application dot project ID. And I want to get the first one of that and return my project name. And so now up here I want to say this dot draw table of my this dot client applications and my this dot projects. No, I'm not ignoring the chat. I actually just talked about what you said. So sorry about that, man. Okay, alerts. And now we can see all of my data is being properly filtered. Finally. Oh my God. Okay, I can set the page size here to be 100. Looks like I can now modify all of these. Wow, that was rough. Let's change on this table. Yeah, no problem. I respond quickly. On this table, I don't think I want to have this max width anymore. Let's see. Yeah, this is better. And it should. Perfect. Okay, that works fine for me. Now the max width of this thing is 1200. $12.20. Okay. Now on my component, let's go ahead and put this into a mat card. Okay, and let's go ahead and add some padding onto this. So I think it should have the padding on it right now. And it does. But that's not the right class. So we want to go back out here and do this on a div here. Hey there, Painkiller TJ. How are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. There we go. Now we have it on a nice card. If I look at my search criteria, I want to select active alerts. There it is. Looks like that this isn't working correctly now when it's drawing the table for filtering. So if I look at my alerts, this is the standard data set. This one's also using alerts queried. Alerts queried here. So this is filtering the alerts here. Fine, man, great. This looks great. Is this purely Angular, or do you have it hooked up with ASP.NET Core on the back end? I'm using, hey there, Kookskidooski. Thank you so much for that follow. Appreciate it. If you have questions, please pop them into the chat. I'm using ASP.NET Core 3.1 for the back end on this. It supports WebSocket, TCP, and Web API connections. The front end is done as Angular CLI. So here it is doing a lookup request for this request alerts total. So up here, get alerts queried. I want to do this draw table with my projects and my client applications. Do you know what your name is in Dutch, Rob Engel? I do not know what it is in Dutch. I know in German, Engel means angel. Painkiller TDH. Well, this is so advanced for me, but I have nerdgasm seeing this. Thanks for answering. No problem. Are you part of our Discord? Make sure that you join if you're not a part of it. Let's see if my bot is running. It's probably not. So we could just do discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Same issue. Draw a table. Is this giving me console errors? No. When I look at this again, it's a different table. Column definitions query. That's why. That's this one. That's why you have two of these. So here, let's move this one up. Because you have alerts total and alerts queried. And so this one you want to say draw table queried. And you want to pass in my projects and my client applications. Actually, I don't think I need to pass those in, right? And then this is going to be a this dot columns definitions queries. Like that. And this needs to be an array. Like that. What? Oh, sorry, it's because that's a function. Okay. And now in this one, I can get rid of these and do this as a this.client applications, like that. And then this one is going to be draw table queried. I will. I'm seeing this from Southern California. Cheers from Tijuana. I'm in Ventura, so we're like 4 hours away, 3 hours away. Curious, are you a self-taught programmer or did you go to college? I went to college, but I didn't go to college for programming. I picked programming up after, and also a little bit before. Okay, so here, when I try to draw this, it says, can't read projects if undefined. So I do need to pass them. So we'll do this for a projects, which is an iProject array, and then a client applications, which is an iClient application array. Same thing on this one. And we want to bring in this getter and this getter. And then up here we can do a this.projects and a this.client applications. Now it should work. What major? I went to college for hydrology. Okay, if I do that again, it does take a second for it to draw while it calculates. I think that's okay. And if I add my search criteria, doesn't look like it's ever drawing this. Cannot read project ID of undefined. So it's not finding it here. So let's do a console.log of this.alerts queried for a moment. Do you know Krista? No. Is that a language or is that a person? Okay, add the criteria. Here it is. Status, alert type, message, timestamp. This thing never is containing the client ID. So if I look at my alerts, which are being passed back, it is. Krista got? No, I don't think so. What do you mean my desktop is exciting? So that's fine. We want to get rid of that. We're going to draw the table queried. And the issue was that in your parameters for your queried, let's look at my this one and then this one. She is your Facebook friend. Yeah, I don't really use Facebook, so I'm not sure who she is. Visual Studio Code looks great when someone who knows how to use it. Thanks. This is Visual Studio Code. I like it a lot. Yeah, that's what you said, Code. They're a little bit different, the two IDEs, but you get used to them pretty quick. Okay, let's go ahead and log in. Look at my alerts. There they all are. If I look at my array, I'm a lame developer, but I'll become a pro in the next few years. I'll not give up. That is the sign of a developer, man. I always say that a developer, I mean, you can go to college to be one if you want, but the characteristics that I know is the guy who wakes up early in the morning, reads all about programming, goes to work, reads about programming, comes home, reads about programming, bothers their wife and friends about programming, nobody gives a crap, and then continues to do it day after day. Okay, and then we'll do this active alerts and check it. And this time when I look, my alerts here are assigning a client application ID. And on my other one, they are not. Well, on my back end, when I'm querying these alerts, it's in the library, of course. So we're going to jump over to the public project. And in my alert DTO, I'm going to add in here a client application ID. And this is going to be the ID of the client application that the alert is registered to. But before we do that, where I have my get payload, here, your alert DTO is in the internal class. Right. That's exactly what I thought. So we can actually get rid of this again. We don't need to mess with it. And then here, I want to do this as a alert DTO as an internal one. And now I can pass in my client application ID equals my alert.client application ID. And now it should work. I'll take that as a piece of advice. Thanks, man. Very encouraging words. Yeah, no worries. Are you in our Discord? I think I already asked you that, right? Yeah, good. Awesome. Make sure you join that. There's like 300, 350 developers in there, and it'll be really great along your journey to have support and have people to talk to about this stuff. So make sure you join. Hey, Sick Mofo, it's good to see you again. How are you? Okay, here are my alerts. Looks good. We'll format it in a bit. Add my search criteria. And now it's working. All right. So I've been going for a little over 2 hours. I'm glad we finally got that. That's adding calculated values and value getters, right, on AG Grid. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them in our Discord or here in the chat. We're going to take a short 15-minute break. When we come back, we could do some formatting on this. We could try to, we might get the visual, which ones of the projects are, like the applications, which are visible and to hold that information for you. And then also we need to add in some icons. We need to do something with the loading of the links so that things are constantly being updated correctly. And yeah, so we got a lot of work ahead of us. So thanks for staying with me. I'll see you guys in just 15 minutes. Thanks so much.